Take that, Socrates.
Yeah, really. What a menace. Love that guy, but like, what a menace. Being on Kamala's side is not being the good guys. Being on Trump's side is not being the bad guys.
This is not biblical. This isn't God in judgment and the second coming. And I'll be the first, if Jesus does come down, I'll be the first to be like, oops, I got this one wrong, players.
Have you ever been victimized by New Age spirituality?
We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting.
You're gonna want to listen up.
I'm Megan, an intuitive life coach and Reiki master.
I'm Ryan, a professional astrologer, and we want to show you what spirituality is by talking about what it is not.
Con artist.
Yes.
Snake oil salesman.
There are so many susceptible people out there.
And then they're tainted. They're ruined. They don't want to come back to spirituality.
We still have a lot to learn, and we will humble ourselves and learn, I think, every freaking day. This is Clairannoyance,
a podcast of spiritual interference. Full moon in Aries is happening today, and the full moon.
That's why I knew this. I mean, of course, it was at 4:27 a.m. and I saw the clock at exactly 4:27 a.m. because I was at home working. Everybody, don't worry, and was texting somebody at the same time. So I got to tell somebody, "Oh my God, happy full moon in Aries!" Right when it was the minute. That doesn't happen often, especially when it's like at an odd hour, you know.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? You got Aries energy. I don't really have much. And it's flowing nicely in my chart, but I am feeling the busyness of it. It's in my third house, which is like the busy house. I'm fucking busy.
I'm feeling it. Yes, you are busy. Yeah, I'm feeling it because I'm in the process of moving. And so out of a place that I've lived for 8 years. So there's all sorts of like feelings as we start to pack up boxes and and then it's just everything's a lot right now. And one of my friends had a heart attack, or they didn't know she had a heart attack. Then they thought she did. So she calls me yesterday. What kind of hospital? Listen to me, people. Don't go to podunk hospitals, okay? Go to the big dog hospitals in your area. Meaning, like, because remember when I was sick a few years ago? It was the podunk hospital. I went to that emergency room, and
I remember. Yep.
Yes, I'm telling you, these like. They're great for bringing in babies, okay? They're great for bringing in life, and then they take everything away. She's 39, and they're like, you may have had a heart attack. You had her for 4 days. What do you mean? How is that possible? So then I had to have she was crying. So I was like, Brooke, she's talked about it. She's like, should I go back to the emergency room? I can't keep anything down. I was like, she goes, I don't want to waste anyone's time. I said, you listen to me here, lady. You waste our fucking time. Because if you dismiss this and something happens to you, you cannot haunt me. Do you understand? Yeah. I will see you in the afterlife. Don't you try and send me a message. I know how it goes after there. Thank you, Michelle Brock. You will not be talking to me until I die. So she went and she's okay. But then I had another friend. She's like, hey, Bo, I have endometrium cancer. I'm like, what? What? So this full moon is full moon fuckery is what it's doing. But, we're just going to chug caffeine and just look alive. Look alive. What about you?
Well, I'm also busy and just like, I mean, it's like busy with a lot of the same shit, different day stuff, but I'm just like really happy to be doing this podcast. It's like always like my nice little decompression moment for the week. And per usual, Megan doesn't know what we're talking about. And what is this? What is this? What is this? Do you see this?
What is happening?
Hey.
I was just looking at your TikTok. And I was like, what? All right, what are you doing in Hong Kong?
Wait, you're in Hong Kong right now?
No, I was there last month. I've been reminiscing.
Okay. Oh God. I was like, oh my God, what time is it there? So for listeners who don't know, we have Victoria Thérèse with us.
Yay!
A second appearance on the Clairannoyance podcast. I'm so excited.
I'm literally at this point, I'm just like, guys, adopt me from time to time. I accept.
Oh my God, please. your podcast was the intro to my friend. Like my friend Brad was like first started listening to our podcast. Your episode was the first one he landed on, and he was like, I have no idea what's happening, but I love this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, it's a hell of a one to start on, bud. But
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
how are you? What a lovely surprise. What's going on?
Yeah, Megan had no idea that I was bringing in Victoria. Just like look, quick background.
Yeah.
I also saw one of her TikToks at like 4 a.m. this morning, like right when the full moon hit, literally probably, and was like, "Oh my God, miss your brain. Got to get you back on the pod soon." And she like commented back, and then I was like, "Wait, we don't officially have anything to talk about today, and we were just gonna shoot the shit on some stuff." I mean, like I had some stuff written down, but then I was like, "What if I can get her to just like pop on in, and then we just like." Because she can talk about so much stuff.
Anything.
And I know
Yeah.
we're going to get nuggets of gold here. So Megan had no idea. I surprised Megan just now. So.
Yes, I love surprises, and what a glorious surprise! I saw the little chat box pop up, and I was like, "Who the fuck?" I'm in the midst of moving. I look like
I know. I was like, I hope she doesn't get mad, but no.
Yeah. I love surprises.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's going on? Tell us about your adventures.
Oh my goodness. So I went home to Hong Kong for the first time in 6 years. 5 years, something like that. Yeah. And my best friend was getting married. So I was like, oh, great. The universe is saying, like, if you miss this, you're screwed. Like, you do not want to ruin a friendship, right? She's like one of my closest, like, oldest friends. But going home felt like a reawakening, like a homecoming. I was like reconnected to the land, reconnected with my ancestors. You know, like I have like at least like 4 or 5 generations of family that have been like living in Hong Kong. Which is almost unheard of because most of the people that moved to Hong Kong were essentially immigrants, right? Because Hong Kong used to be this like tiny little fishing village, and then the British came in and were like, "We're gonna make this a port." So, you know, the growth of Hong Kong to what it is today is in part because of the British, unfortunate dark colonial history. But the beautiful thing is what has essentially manifested is this kind of this international port of, you know, people from all over the world, right? Like I have ancestors. I think we talked about this in the last podcast, but
Finnish.
I have ancestors that
you're
are
Finnish.
Yeah, I have Finnish ancestors. I've got Dutch ancestors. I've got people like the people even like before Malaysia became a country, which actually I was corrected on that on TikTok. Somebody said to me, they were like, Malaysia was not a country when your great grandmother was there. And I was like, oh, this is new for me.
Yeah, my bad.
You don't know it all. Wow.
I don't. But you know what? The most transformative, this is so funny. I like that I'm saying this on a podcast. The most transformative experience of my life was being able to realize that it's because I don't know everything that I am constantly in this state of like pursuit of growth and expansion into more. Right. And being open to perspectives that like even I never thought were possible. Because when I let go of the need to be right and accepting that I can be wrong and not know, that's when like everything in my life, I think, started coming together for me a lot better.
Yeah. Not as much control.
Oh my God. Yeah. The way like I always forget that one of the biggest ways that we like seek to control is the narratives that we have about like people, places, things, right? Like that obsessiveness of like needing to hold on to specific ways of, you know, being and seeing, right? So, oh yeah, it's been amazing.
I imagine that would be kind of difficult since you're so intellectual and you're constantly. So when someone checks you, it's like, who gonna check me, boo? And then to let go of that need to be, because no one likes to get checked, especially when you're on your like game, and then to be okay with it. Because sometimes the checker is not the most eloquent. It's not, they're not necessarily checking you in a kind manner. So it's like, I will kill you. Do you understand? And then I'm gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna murder you. I was wrong. So
yeah I still watch that like part of myself sometimes with that are that's kind of like, who are you to tell me, like, you know, what's that about? And then I have to be like, okay, let's take a few deep breaths because you know what? That person was probably partially right. Let's explore that a little bit if I'm feeling it. If I'm feeling it, not always. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to go in defense and just like fight everybody because I don't know. Have you guys noticed like the internet's a little bit more volatile lately?
Oh
Yes.
my God. Yeah. I'm like off of it. I literally have my Instagram deactivated and I'm like never on TikTok. Like I've caught like 2 of your videos lately, like because I got on in the last couple days, like a couple times, just to, like scroll, but I'm off right now. I have to get back on though, like pretty quickly.
Yeah, you've been off for about a month.
I know I've been off for a minute.
Yeah, I don't have I have to promote, my events and
I know.
my business is social media because people find me, they watch me for a while and then they're like, "Oh, I should probably book with her." And so I don't have the luxury of being like, "Peace out."
No, I don't really either. Like, trust me, I don't either. And I'm launching the 2025 Bismos, so that's gotta promote that soon here.
It's been
Which will be nice. It'll
interesting
be a
to
good little
watch
refresh.
the election, like the election coverage.
Yeah.
'Cause I have not been watching the actual news. I decided I was going to just watch through the lens of other people and just objectively, without just seeing what. And so even the debates, it's like, it's so crazy. It's like my side won, my side won. And then I'll go and actually watch it. And I'm like, well, isn't this interesting? Perspective is a very unique to you quality.
Are you like following the US election a lot? Like how
Absolutely.
does this intersect with you?
Oh my goodness. So, okay, literally, like, I would argue that the US election affects the entire world in more ways than one, right? Like, even being Canadian, I think more or less, like, ever since the election of Trump, like, I was actually in school in the States, like, when he got elected. And I just remember feeling like this was like a dark cloud that kind of like hung over. That's like my personal experience of it for like 4 years, right? So, like, when he actually lost in like 4 years later, I literally felt that lift. I don't know. It was a really big shift personally for me. But what was really interesting is a lot of the conservativeness all around the world. Even when I was in grad school, because when I was in grad school, Trump was also president. The how do I describe it? The dissipation or like the fallout of decorum in political spaces, which, like, don't get me wrong, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like parliaments in other countries where people literally like physically like get into fistfights.
Oh,
like that's
no.
always been a thing. So highly recommend looking into
God.
like, yeah, like I think Indian parliament sometimes that happens. Like there's a lot of other countries and currently that's like not popping off on the top of my head, like, but it's not exclusive to India. That was just like the most recent one I was seeing. But people have always gotten into fistfights. Like, I think even I remember in the US, like, I think it was like around the time of like Bleeding Kansas, which, like, I can't remember the specific events. I just remember the name of the historical event. There was a guy, I think he was like a senator, House rep, something like that. And another one in like was really angry about what he was saying, that he like literally started like physically like beating the man with like a chair or his cane or something like that.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So that's always been a thing in government. Like, I know that to be true, but there's something about like the discourse and how we communicate that really started shifting with the Trump presidency.
Yes.
and-
Remember when Sarah Palin used to be the worst thing that happened to the Republican Party?
Yeah,
I mean-
I remember like Mitt Romney, and we were like, oh, Mitt Romney's like binder full of women. We thought that was bad.
Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh my God. Like these are like the good old days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're so right. I can't agree with you even. I mean, the phrase on the level of decorum is absolutely true because people, it's just like, yeah, you're dumb. And that's all there is. And fuck you. And there's no argument. There's no, look at who, like JD Vance, look at all these clowns, Marjorie, what is she? Big, what do they say? Big butch, big eyelashes.
Oh, bleach blonde.
Yeah.
Big,
Yeah, I mean,
but somebody, yeah, I don't know.
But you're
Yeah.
so absolutely right that when you hold a level of standard and then the level of standard is dropped, then you give a free for all for everybody to behave in an uncouth manner.
What do you have predictions? What do you think's
Me?
gonna happen? Yeah.
I like, okay, intuitively it's so funny. I don't know if you guys have seen, do you guys know who Bashar is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I've said this before. I cannot handle alien discourse, but there's something about Bashar that always gets me curious that I'm just like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I believe in this or not. He drops some really interesting points. So
Yes. Yeah.
did you see the video where he, gave a prediction when somebody asked?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
So basically he said, I think he said the woman will something about contact, like alien contact. And then like the male will cause like the end of the United States as you know it and like total like World War III. And it was really funny because some of these like spiritual content creators that I'm like not a fan of, who are obviously leaning more into the conspiracy theories of things, were like, oh, well, I got the opposite. Yeah, of course you got the opposite, because we have to remember our intuitive guidance is always right. We are wrong because we are human. And how we interpret our messages is based on the filters and whether or not we are aware of those filters. So a lot of people that fall into conspiracy are more likely to be people that are more likely leaning to fear. And I have this huge theory that I've been still trying to like put together, but I sincerely believe, and it's not about good, bad, right, or wrong, right? But when you fall into alt-right pipeline, I think it's because something triggers a very deep innate fear that you're unwilling to reconcile with and admit. And so when people are talking about alt-right pipeline, I think it's just like a development of fear that causes you to lean more into black and white stances that are more likely to be about the us versus theming of different groups or whatever. And bringing it back to, how like politics has really, really shifted with like the Trump administration and things like that happened since like 2016 on, all over the world, you see people experiencing and expressing more fear. And maybe they're not able to fully pinpoint that it's fear, because usually when we are afraid, like I even think about the ways by which when I get angry, when I get on like my defense mode, I try to get like bigger when in the reality on the inside, I am absolutely shaking. But I'm able to be honest about that with myself. And so that's why I'm able to take accountability for that. A lot of people have never learned because shame prevents us from holding ourselves accountable. So what happens is people start to frame issues as like, oh, it's someone else's fault. We have to get rid of, or, erase this group or something, that starts to become this like scapegoating effect, when the reality is, in policy, I always learned how you frame a problem is also how you solve it. So when people are saying, oh, the problem is immigration, for example, the solution is not ban immigration, because the fact of the matter is I don't believe humans can be illegal. But, a lot of people think that, and we don't consider that the reality is, people are going to move around whether you like it or not. And the more harder the stances you have on immigration, actually, the more likely you're probably going to experience a lot more undocumentation, for example, because it's not going to stop people from continuing to try.
Yeah.
Right? Laws can only go so far. I think it also comes in accordance with like our understanding of like human behavior, right? Humans have always moved since the beginning of time. World borders are very new, right? Like they've been constantly shifting and changing after they kind of were more or less solidified post World War II. But the world as we know it is very, very shaped by World War II. Like, highly recommend, side note, there's a book that I was given for Christmas a while back. I can't find the book right now, actually. I wish it was in my periphery. Usually it is. But it's called A Peace to End All Peace. And it's about the Middle East. And
that's the first time you've ever sound Canadian to me, the way you just said about.
And this book like talks about Winston Churchill and how he was actually involved in literally they just carved up the Middle East. So the borders in the Middle East as we know it today is in part Winston Churchill meddling again. The European Union was his idea.
Wow.
In part. I'm not going to give him all the credit, but like,
and people love him. Old white guys love him. I mean, like when you get down, like, just like there's the spirituality pipeline, to spirituality to alt-right. There's also the pipeline with like history becoming like a middle-aged white man gets into history. You're going into the hard, you're going to a Republican lane. I think what was the comedian Shane McGillum, I think, did a bit on it. But it's so true. The second my guy friends started to be taught, like, they're like, that Winston. I'm like, are you addressing him by his first name? Like, that Winston? Like, tell me what you know about old Winford. Like, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you think? Who do you think is going to win?
Honestly, I actually think Kamala is going to win.
I do too.
Me too. Astrologically, it makes sense.
Yeah. Astrologically, I've heard a lot about astrologers. Intuitively, I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like Trump is going to win. I know it sounds really odd, but it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see the development of it.
I think it feels odd right now too. Like I'm still confident in the astrology perspective of it, but it doesn't feel, I mean, like polls have gotten closer all of a sudden. Like it's like I'm shocked by like their like both of them in the last couple of days have done some like, town halls and media appearances and stuff, and Trump is like literally losing it and nobody cares. But Kamala's like out here like, how could you kind of like perform better for like the position she's in, like the time frame? I mean, I know you can perform better.
She's thinking about going on Fox, dude. I mean, like, that's pretty.
She just was.
Oh, she was?
She just was. And she killed it. In my opinion, she stood her own. Did you see it, Victoria?
No, I did not. I'm curious now.
Oh my God. It was amazing. Did you see that Trump basically has announced, like, he's like, I will turn the military on the leftists in this country. He said that multiple times. And so Kamala, like at one of her rallies, like a couple days ago, played like a mashup of clips of him being like, I'm like, we need to get rid of the leftists, and I'm going to turn the National Guard and possibly the military on our own people, essentially. I forget what the word he used, but it was that. And that those clips were getting played all over the place. Trump had like a women's town hall on Fox, and they played also him saying this and asked him about it. And like, of course, theirs was all like planned, but
JK.
Well, no, he's like not backing down off of it, but they played like his actual clips, right? And then when it got to Kamala's sit down interview, which was a whole different setup than Trump's was like, they go easy on him, obviously. But when they got to Kamala's, they brought this point up and how she's like attacking him for saying this. And he's like, well, we have a clip. Let's play the clip. The clip they played wasn't him saying any of that. It was the clip of him on the Fox town hall where he's like kind of responding to it and he doesn't use the same words. And the clip ends and the guy's like, so why are you like being so harsh? I forget what he said exactly, but something like, why are you like drilling in on him on this? And she's like, that was not the clip. You did not play the clip. Like that was not the right clip. Like she's like borderline almost yelling at the dude. He was so lame. You should seriously see that. If anybody hasn't seen it, go see it.
I'm about it.
Even the polls, though, I was listening, or there was a guy, they had boots on the ground, so actually going door to door, who are you voting for? And people don't want to be turned on by their Trump-loving neighbors in a lot of these pivotal swing states. So especially women. Women are like, I'm voting for her, but my husband's about to be home, so please get, and that. So you can be loud and proud all you want to. The loudest vote, doesn't cancel out the quiet ones.
Mm-hmm. I think also in worldview perspective, I also think it's such a privilege to be able to openly say who we're voting for, like anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it's a really important thing to point out, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of dialogue right now where people are like, oh, I'm not political, I don't vote. And that's totally fine if that's like the perspective someone wants to take. However, I would argue in policy, I would say like identifying as non-political is still political, because essentially you're saying like, I don't want to be part of a system, but the neutrality, unfortunately, in spaces by which, say, for example, you have two main parties, right? Mm-hmm. No vote does contribute to status quo, for example, which is unfortunate, right? Because like when you belong to a certain state, you don't really get to like choose where you come from, right? Like where you're born into, what country you're in, whether or not you can vote. But to be political is just having an opinion. If you have an opinion on anything or anyone, perspective on anything like that, how you think someone else should live, that is political at the very, very core of it, right?
Yeah.
So, those values translate into your actions, your thoughts, your words, how you show up in the world, how you treat other people, how you experience other people. And eventually it will go into, who you think deserves to be in power and who doesn't, and who is going to advocate for you or perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
represent you. And one thing that's also super important that just happened, came off the top of my head is even doesn't matter, if Trump loses. The fact is that there's still a lot of people who've essentially expressed who they are. And that sentiment, right, the experience that they are having does not go away. And so even though if Kamala does win, right, it will be a huge relief, I think, for a lot of people. And we have to be so careful because we can't let our guard down, right? Because people have been empowered by Trump. I think you can tell his relevance is not as much, but what he represented in the beginning carries, right? And I think we kind of see that shift because he was the leader of the ideology back in 2016. Now the ideology that people share with that is become bigger than him.
Mm-hmm. He's got to hate that if he's even aware of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would ever become aware of it though, because his ego is so frail. So it's not something that he could ever even handle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wild. So Ryan, you're in California. I'm obviously in South Carolina. So Ryan's blue. South Carolina predominantly Republican, though Charleston does tend to vote more blue. And the conversations, I've had 2 different conversations this week with 2 different people that I love. One Republican, one not a MAGA, but a Trump supporter. But the kindest, and it's like mind-boggling because a kind person, not what they said coming up, but still I can see where it was coming from, fear, because they're a small business owner and they're like, if you don't vote for Trump, I'll never talk to you again. And I was like, I was very vocal about this. Same deal with my Democrat friend who was like, my rights are on the line. She's a woman. Bitch, I'm a woman too. What are you talking about? Why are they just and also this isn't a woman of color. This is just a regular old white woman. Like me. What do you mean? My rights, and she was like, and if you don't, because I've been, like I said, just observing, and I haven't been as vocal as I have been in the past too, because it does no good. Conversations like this are very enlightening, but if you are made up in your mind, there's not a damn thing I can tell you or a conversation that we can have. So 2 different people that I love dearly have essentially expressed that if I don't vote their way, that I'm, they're never talking to me again, which how would you know? Back to the polling I just mentioned, I could tell you, yep, this is what I sure did. I voted for him. I sure did. I voted for her. You would never know. You're not in the booth with me.
100%. 100%.
It's so wild. Can you imagine? I'm not going to be your friend anymore. I'm not going to talk to you. Year-long friendships, decades. Tacky. Y'all are tacky.
Well, and it's just there's not going to be people want, I think this was polled too, people genuinely want and are supportive of Kamala. People who are there's still a lot of people in America who are not paying attention to what's going on. So when canvassing is important, when people are going to knock on doors and they're finding these people, they're just hearing about what are their platforms? What are their messages? There's a lot of these accounts, and a lot of them are overwhelmingly basically being appreciative of Kamala's reaching across the aisle. Fuck tons of people though, especially in the Democrat Party, leftists, liberals are all pissed that she's reaching out across the aisle and she's got all these Republicans backing her up and she's flaunting it. But it's no, that's working to engage all of these people who aren't engaged right now. I know I don't fucking care about Liz Cheney either, but I'm not gonna hate on her tactic right here. She's playing this embrace perspective versus Trump's isolationist perspective.
That's what you should do as an international leader. You should be diplomatic and be able to to reach. That's exactly what a world leader should do. Am I right? I mean,
Yep.
duh.
Yeah. And also like when we think about like revolution, right? Which like I am so in favor. I love watching everybody kind of like get together, mobilize, start to really question like, you know what, like how are we acting in community with one another? To kind of watch that development is like really beautiful. And at the same time, we have to also remember that we are in the system, we have to play the system. And in a system like in the United States where you have to choose between two people, creating an us versus them mentality, right? Like I don't think it's fair anymore because okay, there was a really great content creator. She's Crutches and Spice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crutches and Spice said, and this is so so important. These days, like when you hear people use like dog whistles and like certain key phrases, you actually can't tell what political ideology they are like involved with because now leftists are starting to drop dog whistles. Or not maybe not leftists, like maybe more liberals, but still like we are living in an era right now where like I don't really know necessarily if we could say that like who you vote for is a representation exactly of your values because your values are not us versus them, right? Like I
Right.
understand voting for Kamala because it's like yeah, like women's rights, but I understand some like and I don't think it's appropriate, but some people are literally like so against what's happening in like in the wars and the genocides that are happening overseas that they're literally like, "Oh, you know what? Like I'm not going to vote for Kamala. I'm going to go third party, which is like totally fine. Or even some people being like, yeah, like I'm even going to vote for Trump for whatever reason. Like everybody is like scrambling to try to like make sense of how to fit into a world that's saying this or that. It is so
Yeah.
difficult to do that when everybody very clear, not everybody, but like a lot of people who want to see like bigger changes, right? Changes to the establishment, changes to the way that the system is working. Like you can't fit it within the system, but you still have to work with the system.
100%. And I think like one of the things have totally stuck with me. I don't remember the creator that said this. By the way, per Victoria's last episode, all resources she mentioned. So we'll make sure to link below. Seriously, I'll including Crutches and Spice. Um, uh, there was some creator that I can't remember because I'm a fucking Gemini and I could find the source and whatever. But the philosophy of like you're not voting for like who you support, you're voting for who you can actually like fight, who you can argue with, and go against. It's like that's my opponent that I want. You know what I mean? Like to push them
Mhm.
farther. I think that's like such a good perspective to have because it
Yeah,
makes me
I
like
love that.
allow myself to like I don't love Kamala. I never really did. I think she's doing a great job though, and it allows me to like see her benefits and her flaws like more holistically by kind of
Mhm.
flipping my brain around in that way. Whereas like
Mhm.
Trump, I don't want him as an opponent because you
Well, there's
not
no
not
fair. There's nothing fair. There's no fair.
yeah.
It's so interesting to have, like I said, to be close to so many Trump Republicans. Like, like people that I know are like I know their heart, and then to have conversations, which I was not capable of doing in 2016. I was to me that I was just as bad because I was not capable of having these conversations with these people and I demonize people and I villainize them. And then I was like, wait, I'm actually like, I'm being everything that I don't like. I'm being everything that I protest against. So it's just like their reasoning, and some it's the economy, some they're lifelong Republicans, and this is their party, and I'm like, but is it? And then because then that's why I was thinking about Sarah Palin because it was like Sarah Palin, like we thought she was a whack job back in the day, and now look at her, like George Bush. Say what you want about old George, but you could, I mean, he liked America. He loved America, like, and it's like with Trump, you only hate, like, you will blow the whole world up because you're upset, like, because you didn't get your way. And we're seeing this, and it's just so wild to have these conversations with people, to see their reasoning, to then get taken back to that era and then also to see people changing their minds too, people who have been lifelong Republicans and who are like, this isn't my party. I can't get down with this. And who have switched to independence and who are doing so. So it's been fascinating to have these conversations. And I just ask questions because I'm not trying to change your opinion. I just want to know where you're coming from. Because if I know where you're coming from, then we can get to the source. We can have a dialogue.
100%. Yeah, that was something that I was doing when I was down in Florida. Like North Florida when I was an undergrad, like that's like very close to Bible Belt, right? Like it's still
Yeah.
technically the South. And so I remember I spent a lot of time listening to people more than I was actually like I also had my 2014 Facebook arguing phase. That was fun while it lasted.
Me too.
But at the same time, learning how to genuinely listen, I think, was really supportive because even now when I see people's political stances, like I used to be in a state of my life where like I would get triggered by anything that I completely disagreed with. I was like, oh, this human rights, which like you have a right to be very angry when, human rights are being affected, when people are, experiencing a lot of like loss and suffering and pain, right? And at the same time, the way that we alleviate that is by learning how to like listen. Like that's a part of my spiritual practice, to learn how to like deeply listen, commit to understand, right? So now like when I hear people talking, I genuinely want to know, like, because everybody that takes a strong stance on something has a really strong emotional tie to it. It doesn't matter. It's really funny. I talk a lot about how I think a lot of philosophers have kind of like ruined modern dialogue because they love to be like, yeah, like I'm so objective because I'm logical. And I'm like, humans are not logical. We are so emotionally driven that it's not like, when we talk about identity sometimes, people love to be like, yeah, like I don't understand how, this person identifies with like a conservative party or like an alt-right movement when they belong to like a marginalized group of people. And then you realize like it's not about logic. They don't look at themselves in that way by which they put their identity, a certain identity, on like a higher pedestal. Maybe there's some kind of shift in their own values by which maybe they're aligned to like a more like religious perspective, or maybe they had like I think, I don't know if you guys have heard, like apparently Lil Wayne like is kind of like, I don't know if he's pro cop, but he's definitely said very like positive things about police because
one saved his life. He got shot. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, and they're still friends to this day.
Yeah. So like, when we have these emotional experiences, that kind of solidifies like certain values in us, right? Like big emotional experiences create values. And from those values create our belief systems and how we show up in the world and how we look at other people. And that is like, I think getting to the root of that helps us to understand how we can communicate better, which like I don't think everybody deserves communication or everybody needs to communicate. But I think if that is a part of your practice and you resonate with that, then like keep doing it, because like that's something that I personally enjoy doing. I don't get triggered anymore by like political commentators, but I never stop being political. Like I'm still a very political person and I care a lot about what happens to people and, how to, decrease or eventually, hopefully, to eliminate suffering if that is ever possible, but to decrease it as much as I possibly can. Like that matters to me. Right.
I think that's with maturity too, because everything you just said, I used to be so just horrified by politics, especially when, I mean, I voted, but I was socially liberal, fiscally conservative. I was able to kind of just, and then Trump got on the scene. I was an independent. And I was like, what in the actual fuck is this? And I remember exactly where I was when he started spewing about the wall. And I was like, what? Like, what? And then I look to like people and I'd be like, this is crazy. And they're like, no, this is what America needs. I'm like, you didn't graduate high school, okay? Like you don't know what America needs. You need to have a basic understanding of government and economics and understand the economy and policies. And that's also what's very frightening. I'm no wizard at this, but so many people don't know the basics of, like whose tax law are we under right now, bruh? Like, so you don't like where we're at right now. There's one person to blame for that, and it's not who you think it is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Did you guys see the video on TikTok where there was someone who said that conspiracy theories are for people who like don't know how anything works?
Yes.
Yeah.
The creator, by the way, is Danny DeVito's stunt double. That's her username.
Oh. Love. Okay, perfect.
Like this I'm sorry. Like no one understands basic policy, and what's even worse is I remember I was supporting a friend when she was like going through the ballot in Florida, and she was trying to like make sense of, the certain policies that she was able to vote for. The way the policies are worded is actually so scary because they know how to manipulate language to make you think like you're doing one thing when you're actually voting for something else. So if you're not actually informed prior to voting, you have no idea what you like. I can't even recount what the ballot said because the language was so messy. It was something
Yeah.
about solar panels, and there was a corporation, I guess, that was really upset that Floridians were essentially like not having to pay as much because they were using renewable energy. And so this particular policy, I think this is like 2015, 2016, was something along the lines of essentially you think that you're doing like you're gonna be able to have more solar panels or something along the lines of that, but really you're actually voting to like anytime if you are using solar panels, you have to like pay the company, the electric companies for something. So it was something about that, and I hold myself accountable if I was completely wrong about that, but I distinctly remember something about that.
I believe it because if they can use language, fancy language to tie someone up, you're in there. You're kind of, you only have a certain amount of time, so you're going through, you're making sure. And then when it comes to, object A or object B, it's like, oh, I mean, I just have a distinct memory of voting when I think I was 18, and I was like, I don't know, you're just like, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what any of this means. And so you feel bad, but yeah, do your due diligence. Look into because local government, if we saw anything during COVID, local government is very important. They can really make or break your day-to-day life. So
Mhm.
check in on the policies.
Yeah. Like
That's one
I
thing
don't
about
doubt for a
them.
moment you could definitely become friends with your mayor if you wanted to. Like wherever you are. Like
Yeah.
even up here in Canada, my like the mayor of my town or city or whatever, he
Mhm.
like walks his dog at the same hour like every single day. You could run into him, you know? Like
Mhm.
those connections that you make essentially like being able to humanize each other by having
Mhm.
conversations, by engaging in dialogue, and also if voting is difficult, because like even I get overwhelmed, okay? When I see a lot of words on the page, I will check out at some point.
Yeah.
And so there are organizations that are willing to support in, whatever policies you're gonna have to vote for in November. Um, Ask people that are knowledgeable, that are, obviously like don't take up people's time if they don't have the capacity because everyone's overwhelmed at this time. But,
Yeah.
like there are organizations that are available, there's nonprofits, there are, like there's so many people that are really doing their best to try to like educate, and they're really putting so much energy and effort out into being of support to making the world a better place in any way they can, and also working within the system. So, like find those resources. I do not have any because I have not been in the States for long enough since I left, but they are out there.
You're not missing anything right now.
My concern is that whoever wins, what happens to the other party afterwards, and how, because it's like, oh, civil war. I'm like, you don't even know how to use a hammer. Like, what do you mean civil war? Like, that neck ain't red like it's supposed to be for who you're trying to vote for.
And I have this like irrational fear of like, Democrats are like pressing the point of how Trump and Republicans are not committing to a peaceful transfer of power. They're really like vague about that language. And obviously there's precedent for that as well. So like that's normal to me now to like almost expect that. But like I have this like fear that if he wins, are we are we gonna allow the peaceful transfer of power? Are Democrats
Oh,
going to rise up and do some shady shit? Because, like, because
plot
then it's
twist.
like, as much as of a revolutionary Aquarius rising as I am, I'm like, well, we can't like, damn, we got to stick to some sort of like principle or moral or something. But like, at what point do they just walk all over us if they win? I just don't want to even put energy into thinking they're going to win.
Yeah. I'm always like, what is the astrology indicating? I love astrology. I'm so thankful for it.
I know.
Well, let's turn it on over. What does the astrology indicate?
I know. Well, like, okay, like North Node is in Aries. Like, that's just kind of like collective evolutionary shit. North Node in Aries, war. We're embracing this idea of war and individuation and like me, 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 me. And South Node in Libra, sign of diplomacy, and the other. And like we're letting that go right now. It weirdly relates very much to Israel Palestine. Israel is a Libra rising.
Okay, so but quick note. So, but in 2016 was Libra on the North Node and was Aries on the South Node because wouldn't it be around those times? So if diplomacy was on just like for if diplomacy was Libra, then we fucked that up. So maybe we can fuck this up in reverse, you know?
No, it was in 2016, it was Virgo Pisces. So North Node was in Virgo, South Node was in Pisces, which is what we're moving into in January. So that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, like the revolution, the war stuff feels prevalent at election. Yeah. Especially, I mean, Pluto moving back into Aquarius for good, where it'll be for 20 years, right after the election, too. Mars is in its pre-retrograde shadow.
Yeah, but we have Pisces, but going to the North Node. Pisces is going to be like, listen, brothers and sisters and theys. Yeah.
Right. And that's not until like January 11th. So it's like after January 11th, I feel like we're in a more like a place of healing and oneness.
Isn't that when the sign in happens?
That's like it's like January, later in January. But it was like January 6th was like
that's what I was thinking, January
so
6th.
I'm like, we could have this like kind of like last minute fucking thing. I don't know, man. I hope not, but I just don't know how they're already teeing up everything, like they're already like talking all the talking points they need to talk to have like kind of a seamless battle against like votes that are lawfully cast, So this is what's like, it's very calculated. Like they've been through this before. They know how it works. Like they fucked up on many things the last go around and they've learned from some mistakes, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it is a really scary like place and time. And like when I say like being an outsider, like looking in, like I know the ways by which America affects the rest of the world. Like in Canada, like our conservative parties got like, more comfortable with spreading misinformation. And like there's a lot, and I think what, like I think it's so important and valid to not trust your government, but it's another thing to just kind of settle on the conspiracies of, oh yeah, the government's trying to kill. The government's never trying to kill you. The government's just trying to help other greedy people get richer at your expense, regardless of the value they have in your human life. That's it. It's not oh, the government's trying to, you're
coming
not
after you, Bob.
Yeah, like the point is the government doesn't think you're important at all. That's like, and that's usually manifestation of the ways by which, lobbyists, corporations, all that stuff try to come in to be like, hey, we just want to make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Nothing else matters but money. Okay. Give me more. How do I do that? Right. And I think that even that's like changed, because conspiracy theorists have a right to be conspiracy theorists until they kind of get to the point where they start being like, oh, it's this group of people. Oh, the reptilians.
The unravel, my like big thing that like I've never had like an opportunity to talk to a conspiracy theorist about, but like just a common example that I see all the fucking time.
I can make that happen, bud.
Well, they don't. I'm sure, but like they don't trust the government. They don't trust the CIA. They don't trust all this stuff, right? But then they discover a leaked CIA document about remote viewing, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, look at this! No, it was just leaked from the CIA or declassified from the CIA." And it's like, wait, but I thought you that the CIA was deep state. They gotta drain that swamp. Like, what do you mean?
Take that critical thinking, bro.
They're like insane. They're literally insane. And now, like, like even just like with I don't know. This is now a Republican thing, not conspiracy theory, but just like the when it suits me mentality of things lately is like pissing me the fuck off. Like so many Republicans were like shitting on Kamala because she wasn't doing a lot of media interviews. Now she's doing a whole blitz, and like she got on Fox and held her freaking own. Not everything was perfect, but good God, it was like very evident that she like is a fearless leader. She's gonna do her shit. And no, they all like hated her for it. Like now, none of what she says is good enough. All of the media appearances she's doing, they're like, why is she doing that? And then Trump's turning down all these media appearances now. He's turning down every opportunity to like debate.
You won't
And
debate her again.
he didn't even go on 60 Minutes, the first presidential candidate in in 50 years. He just isn't doing that. And I'm looking at like comments online of people, and they're like, well, why should he? Why should he have to? And it's like, you're the one who just pressured Kamala to like do these things. She's been in the wait, what? I'm just like, the double standard of it all is like insane to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people can't recognize that in themselves. I don't know how to make those people like Megan.
It's not even a conversation though. It's not even, they can't even like people. It's not, it's not a conversation they can even have because it's like, this is a corrupt system and this is the only guy who's going to get the job done. And so it's whatever you dominantly tell yourself is going to be your perspective. And they have so programmed themselves to the point that I know so many people are like, if Daddy Trump doesn't win, but if Trump doesn't win, we're screwed. And I'm like, well, you're programming your reality based off that. If you keep saying that, but you've been fine. What are you talking about? Your business boomed in 2021 during it's mind blowing.
Yeah. And I always like to say, like, my personal reflection on, how do we hold ourselves accountable, right? Like, accountability comes from the dissolution or like the moving through of shame, right? Being able to accept that we have shame, which a lot of us can't. Because think about the world that we live in. We're under so much pressure, so much stress, financial issues abundant, potential, collapse of capitalism, whatever you want to call it. People are so stressed and, overwhelmed and frustrated. Of course, it's going to trigger your fight or flight. And your fight or flight's not going to allow you to look at that shame. And when you don't look at your shame, you can't hold yourself accountable. It's so much easier for you to point fingers at people and saying, you're the problem, not me, right? Creating that kind of dissonance, right? And removing our ability to pause and be able to say, hey, wait, what if, that's why I love shadow work, okay? I'm forever an advocate for shadow work. What if we looked at other people and said, maybe the way that I'm judging other people is actually a safer way for me to look at myself? What if my negative perspectives on other people are actually just a reflection of things that I'm not reconciling for me, that I can't hold myself accountable for, right? Because how often, like, when you mentioned revolution earlier, like especially like Civil War, the scary thing about the way that I have noticed, the way people talk about Civil War, like when I went to the States, it was always like, oh, the North fought the South and they're the good guys, those guys, the bad guys. That's not what it was. Like, we don't hear about the mini revolutions that cost, a lot of free Black people their lives because people in the North were so angry that they had to fight for the South, right? There were literally like so much like loss of life in the North alone prior to, them being drafted. Like literally the news of the drafts enrage people in the North, right? And a lot of Northerners love to be like, yeah, we're not racist. And that inability to acknowledge that there is this like darker history of like, actually, maybe we were all prejudiced. And we all have prejudices, and the more that we're under pressure, the more we're likely to see that prejudice come to the surface. And that's okay when you were able to hold yourself accountable for it and know that when I hold myself accountable, I'm able to see it before I start acting in it. Right? So Civil War happening or not, like, it doesn't matter. Being on Kamala's side is not being the good guys. Being on Trump's side is not being the bad guys.
Oh, that's so... It's so true. It's the lesser of evils. So interestingly, too, with Hurricane Helene destroying Western North Carolina. And so there is like huge devastation. I mean, so much loss of life. They just discovered a town that has 160 bodies. This is like 2 or 3 weeks ago, 160 bodies. And so FEMA, and there are big problems with FEMA. Don't get me wrong. The bureaucracy and how people have to apply, and I mean, it's pretty horrific. I saw that. I'm seeing this here. And then also I had friends in Hawaii who had to deal with this during the wildfire. But they've taken their people out because of misinformation. There are armed militias. Now, we are in Western North Carolina. Okay, so we are in Republican territory. We are in misinformation territory. So they are roaming. So they see FEMA. They were starting to get attacked. They didn't feel safe. So FEMA pulls out, which is also not I understand. So now you have, and that's what a civil war would be like. It wouldn't be this like huge going back. It would be these little armed militias who really believe in their mission, guerrilla tactics. And that's what I think people don't, they have no concept of what this would look like. Meanwhile, now people who really need help, I mean, there are certain towns that you can only access them via helicopters. And you have all these giant male egos who are you're hearing these stories where they're like, you're not following protocol, get off my mountain. And it's like, you have private sector helicopters, planes wanting to help. And because you're not following that aren't interfering with anything. It is wild to see the conversations that are going forth. But I was like, this is what civil war would be here. It would be these just tiny guerrilla warfare tactics. And now, these people need help. I mean, 2 to 3 weeks without water, without being able to use the bathroom. They're pooping in buckets, food and it's 40 degrees, 30 degrees, like the mold. And some of these people, they are living in remote mountain towns, one lane of traffic, one road. The road is completely washed away. There's no flood insurance. 1 in 200 people have flood insurance there. No one's talking about this. It is, so it's this. How are we going to help these people? How are we going to learn from what happened in Hawaii? FEMA says you need a birth certificate. You need these things to, my man, if there's probably no birth certificate or identification, we have to get out of the bureaucracy to be able to help people. And that's just going to further then spur the conspiracy theories. It's horrific to watch. And also a masterclass on how do we learn from this and improve. And I can't stop because I know people who are there. So I'm literally seeing the inside scope, but 160 or 106 bodies, people. That's so many people. And it's not making any sort of news. That's so many. I mean, that's 100 plus loss of life from water. And they're like, this is biblical. No, it's not. This is climate change. They told you that this was going to happen. Asheville in 2014 did a whole study that said, if you do not change the ways if you keep building, this is what is going to happen. It is not, and you voted them out. People voted because of money. So this is not biblical. This is climate change. Yeah. And you and politicians are directly responsible for the incredible loss of life in that area. But do you think, no, this is happening in the Bible? Okay, maybe there are some instances of similarities. But this isn't God in judgment and the second coming. And I'll be the first, if Jesus does come down, I'll be the first to be like, oops, my bad. I got this one wrong, players. But no, this is climate change. How many hurricanes are we going to have? And it's just going to keep getting worse. I mean, the ocean is warm. It's a bath, dude. It's gross. You go in there, there's no refreshing. Oh, let me take a dip. It feels like you're in piss water. So the end pisses me the fuck off because this is only going to get this is not an isolated incident. This is just going to keep continuing and people are going to keep, it's biblical. No, it's not.
And they don't understand it, like literally to the point. I mean, like, I have to believe not all MAGA are as dumb as Trump, but like he had said, like at a rally, I think, where he's like, well, and if the sea tides rise, like whatever, it's like more oceanfront property for us. And it's like, no, sir. Like if the sea tides rise, then it covers land. That's less oceanfront property. You dumbass. Like he doesn't even understand how it works.
Or does he? And he's just saying things to pander to his audience where,
Fun story, actually. I met someone in Toronto and he's in his 70s and he actually was Donald Trump's advice, like he was like a supportive advisor kind of person. He was hired by Donald Trump for 5 years. I think this was like right after Barla Maples. Not going to disclose for like privacy things, but his personal experience with Trump, like he said that Trump is as dense as you see him as, because the thing is, like, he just wants to make money.
Yeah.
right? Like when you hit a certain level of privilege, when you inherit a lot of money, you don't necessarily have to be like smart with it anymore because you have literally like teams of like really, really intelligent people supporting you. And you're making these like little decisions, right? Like when I worked in a bank for like a month as an internship thing back in 2016. And this bank was opening up a family office in Hong Kong. And the thing about family office that I don't think people realize is that's for like very like the 1%, you know, people that are super, super wealthy. And remember, these are banks that have family offices. Family offices are not just about managing your finances. They also help you make like big decisions. What school do your kids go to?
I didn't even know family offices. I was like, banks have family offices. This is fascinating.
Yeah, you like depending on how wealthy you are, you have like a team of advisors literally like doing the math for you, helping you figure out like what school should your kids go to, right?
Mm.
What like, not just financial decisions, like decisions of just about like where you decide to put your money and what you do with it, right? Like once you hit a certain level of wealth, it's really not about in like you don't like okay, there is the capitalist perspective that if you have a lot of money, you're obviously really smart, right? You know how to handle your money. No,
Yeah.
that's not about that. You can afford to buy other people's time, right? There was a really
Mhm.
big public speaker that I saw live at a tech conference last year, and she said, and I thought this was genius because I'd never seen. I'm sure people have spoken about this before, but it just changed the way that I understood like money and being employed. But she said like I have 24 hours in one day, right? I know you remember that one girl that said like Beyonce, you have the same hours as Beyonce. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Beyonce does not have 24 hours in her day, right? Because the way this speaker, I wish I remembered her name, but she basically said, you get to buy other people's time when you hire other people, right? Now you're not working 10 hours a day. Now you get 20 hours in one day. You hire a second person, you get 30 hours in a day,
Oh, wow.
right? The number of
Mm.
people that you employ, you are also like gaining more time. Because if you were one person doing everything by yourself, right? Like for example, the way that you guys like put some like the time and energy that you put into your podcast, imagine how much more time you'd get if you were able to afford to hire, you know, like a team of
Mhm.
people,
I
editors,
don't
like
know if
all these
Ryan
different
would ever
things.
do that anyway, because it's such his meticulous editing baby that I don't think he would
No,
ever
I
give
would
up.
happily, dude. Are you kidding? I would like gladly. Perhaps I could totally use the time.
Yeah. So like, yeah, Beyonce doesn't have 24 hours in her day. She
Yeah.
probably has maybe like what, like maybe like 100 and
I was about to say,
something, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So
Really good
yeah,
point.
like it's I don't even remember what I started off. Oh, the I don't remember what I was saying when I was talking about time, but the the way that the world works is very different from how
Oh,
we
Trump,
understand
Trump
it.
and his and the older fella that you met in
Oh
Toronto.
yeah, yeah. You don't have to be smart to be in power. You just have to be charismatic. Doesn't Trump like a Gemini sun or something?
Hmm.
He fucking is, man. I don't like to admit it, but yes, he is. He's a
Listen,
Gemini.
I love Geminis. I'm at a stage in my life where like I really, really appreciate Geminis. Like I feel like you guys are greatly like mistreated and obviously
And
like
Scorpios. I love them. They're my two faves. I'm with you.
yeah, they're so fun because Geminis
Yeah.
are expanders, right? You guys are, you know, like, and I'm not gonna lie, I've met a lot of people, Gemini suns, Gemini risings, like, you guys are mad charismatic, like,
Yeah.
mad charismatic,
Thank
so
you.
enticing, so, you know, I get it, I get it, like, you know, I'm Trump's ability to do that, obviously, is that charisma is not like, and even when it comes to politics, like, it's not about intelligence. You know, it's never about intelligence. It's about like your emotional state of being, honestly, when it comes to our perspectives on life. Um, and I think it's a great attempt, right? Like when I was talking about philosophers, like they're always like, yeah, like I can be objective. I think they were just a bunch of dudes that had like really, really repressed emotions and didn't realize that they were actually coming from places of like entitlement. And
Take that, Socrates.
yeah, really, what a menace. Love that guy, but like, what a menace. What a menace. Like, can you imagine just like, but actually, you know what? One thing that we can learn from Socrates, honestly, is instead of taking like stances, ask people questions. Like, why is that funny? Right?
Oh, you want to neuter someone of their power. If you don't think something's funny, be like, I don't, can you explain the joke? Like, I don't get it. Why is that? And you will literally watch people's souls leave their body. I mean, I've never done it, but I've witnessed it firsthand, and I was like, I feel I'm hot. Like, how do I get out of here? Like
Yeah.
because it's not. It's like,
Yeah. Why is that funny? Why do you believe that? Where did that come from? Who taught you that? What was your source?
I did my research. I did my
Oh God.
I did my
research.
own research.
From what? The YouTube?
I
Yeah, yeah, and TikTok. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love TikTok. I do think it can be an educational platform when we want it to be, and at the same time,
Oh yes, and the internet as a whole, though, it's just you have to seek out, quality.
mm,
And so when my For You page starts to get like unruly, I'm like, oh, what have you been what have you been doom scrolling late night? Not interested. Unfollow. Let me get back to some, to some thought-provoking content, some astrology, something, because why am I looking at this?
yeah. Ryan, I have a quick question. How can we stay grounded for like this next season of chaos?
uh I it's so hard. I really difficult because Mars is gonna go retrograde on December 9th until February 23rd. It's in the pre-retrograde shadow right now, so like themes are already emerging. It's like, and it won't exit the post-retrograde shadow until May. Then we get this kind of like little bit of a reprieve in May. I'm very excited for June 9th when Jupiter hits Cancer. That's its favorite sign to be in. That's going to be very lovey-dovey, and it will pair very nicely with the North Node in Pisces. And we will be embracing a little bit more of a kumbaya feeling, especially I would say second half of next year. But there's just so much change. How do you, that's so interesting you say the word grounded, because it's like, I want to throw it back to you and be like, how do you stay grounded when there is such huge change? Like this year has brought change already, but now November, literally November until July, every outer planet, Jupiter onward, is changing signs. Like that's a big deal when one of them changes signs. Every one of them is changing signs. I mean, that's like a 20-year cycle with Pluto, like 12, 13-year, 14-year cycle with Neptune. Uranus is like a 7, 8-year cycle. All of them are shifting. That is an epoch change. You know what I mean? And there's so much like flipping, like the hottest spot of the zodiac in the next year is going to be the end of Pisces and the start of Aries, which is the end of the whole zodiac and the start of the whole zodiac. So this is literal new cycle shit and retrogrades bouncing back and forth. So I don't know. It's like to stay grounded, stay nimble. I don't, it's like how embrace that like airy energy, I want to say almost of like,
Mm.
ooh, like that will
Stay
make you
flexible.
feel, yeah,
Stay
it's like,
flexible.
I feel like it's people who have, it reminds me of like people who have like an energy of spontaneity in their sixth house, which is the house of daily routine and structure, regimen, right? But people who have spontaneity there need spontaneity to be the routine.
Wait, that's my moon. That's the Gemini moon. Do I have that? Do I have?
Is it in your sixth?
Do I? Yeah. Am I spontaneous?
Oh, it's in your sixth? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it makes you feel like good and safe to be flexible in a reoccurring way. So I don't know. I think people won't feel grounded if you're like white knuckle gripping to your current spot in life right now. It's just not
Mm.
where things are
Mhm.
at all. I know, like, I mean, I can only speak in my astrology stance, but like the way things are kind of playing out for the next few months, at least for me, is in a weird way of like, I am really hanging on to beliefs that I have and like not so much, which is weird, like not so much using logic, or this is something I need to be careful about. Like,
Yeah.
and that maybe I need to like calm down to earth, quote unquote, in my mind and use a little bit more black and white thinking, which is not my norm. It's not my norm, but it's like a lesson I'm for a temporary amount of time, like learning. And I think if I can make things make sense logically in a very just mundane way, then it'll be better than just like, well, I believe in this thing, which is nice because belief gives you faith and all that. But like, I don't know. That's just me, and Aquarius risings in general kind of like are dealing with that. But I don't know. I have to stay grounded by like using logic, weirdly, you know. I
Yeah.
think I'm a logical person, but I do have weird beliefs and I'm letting some of them go. Some of my like spiritual beliefs and even astrological stuff is like kind of
Mhm.
shifting.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to let that go. Like instead of hanging on to it, like this is how astrology
Yeah.
works or something, I am letting
Yeah.
it change.
Yeah. It's interesting you threw it back to me because in my head I sometimes forget like, oh yeah, I'm a professional intuitive. Right, right, correct. So something that's really fun is when I think about grounding, especially when I think about like fire signs, right? I got this like little intuitive hit, which is basically like in order to be a flame, you have to have like a host, right? Something has to create the space for the flame, right?
Interesting.
So maybe the one of the answers could be also be the matchstick, for example. Be like
Yeah.
that, like instead of being the flame, right, which like literally can like fizzle out if say there's no more oxygen, if someone blows it out, right? If whatever like if the source of it can no longer grow, it's not going to be there anymore, right? So be the host, be the source. And what that essentially means, I guess, if I'm interpreting it, hopefully I'm doing this correctly, is instead of being so visceral, right? This is taking a page out of my therapist's recommendations to me. Instead of being so visceral and so dependent on our external world, how do we learn how to come back more to ourselves? And one of the ways is logic. And I love that because logic is one of the rules that we use to make sense of the world around us. It's one of the foundational perspectives, right? According to P.D. Ouspensky from his a new order of the universe, new model of the universe is the name of his book. And he says logic, no, not logic, philosophy, religion, and science are the makeup of the three-dimensional world that we live in, right? It's also about like destroying our concepts because our concepts come from perspectives, from the lens that we use to see the world. And one of my favorite ways, actually, in the concept of logic as well, is noticing the difference between archetypes versus stereotypes in spiritual space.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about being a president of a professional debate team? Because I think you can make some real money. Okay. Like, I think that you could go on and you could just like dominate or Jeopardy. I mean, like, you need to be on some sort of like, like, I think you could just like fucking kill it, dude. Like, this lady needs to be on Jeopardy. She needs to be president of the Canadian debate team. I don't like so like because you would kill it. I would bet so much money on you.
I appreciate you so much. But yeah, archetypes versus stereotypes. I've been reflecting on this a lot recently. Archetypes invite us to dive deeper into ourselves. Stereotypes are one dimensional, right? A lot of the time, when we fall into the traps of like, the tarot or the divination practices,
Mhm.
astrology, people are so likely to, like, same thing. It's like, oh yeah, you're a Gemini, right? Stereotype or archetype? Of course, we can all relate to the archetypes because they are all invitations to dive deeper into ourselves.
And evolving. They
Yeah.
evolve, They the signs have evolved. Like that's why astrology technically is a archetypal synthesis, but it will always encompass or reflect everything on Earth. We didn't have technology like in computers and shit, but I can see it in the birth chart. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense. They evolve. I love it. I think that's really funny you say that. Do you know something that I did for fun was I saw this TikTok. I hate every fucking time I have to say I saw a TikTok. And it's just like constant every fucking episode. We always every like multiple times. Just like but it may whatever. But I saw this really cool TikTok that was like this guy being like I saw like the most profound like prompt you could ever ask Chat GPT. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And like normally actually I like skip that shit, but it literally said, based on everything you know of me what is something about myself that I probably don't know. To have AI tell you that, isn't that fucking nuts? Anyway, I'm only saying that to be like, I put it in. By the way, I don't ever recommend using ChatGPT for astrology. It continually miscalculates
All
your
the
birth chart
time.
and everything. It's like
Everything.
literally like it's not okay. But anyway, I have like a ChatGPT thread there because I'm like constantly like checking it. And I asked it and it told me that like I have this like way of understanding the world through archetypes. So I was like, oh well, that's perfect, which is true. I
Yeah.
haven't thought about it that way. Always thought more astrological lens or whatever. Just the way it put it was um really poignant.
It's funny because I did that. I saw that prompt and I was like, I'm curious.
Ah,
And I asked ChatGPT. I was like, but I think I was like, what? Yeah, what are my blind spots basically? And I was actually surprised that this came from ChatGPT, but they were like, you use your logic too much. You need to create more space for
mm.
intuition. I was like, AI's telling me that.
Like, stay in your lane, ChatGPT.
That's really interesting. How odd.
I'm gonna have to check it out now. I don't want
Should.
AI to tell me about myself. It's creepy. It's like, next up is the robot that Elon created. 30 grand seems like a steal though. I'm gonna be honest. Like for a robot that's like R2D2 that just can like is that it can walk your dog, take care of your kids. I mean, somebody's going to jail. Okay, somebody's going to jail for child abuse or child neglect, letting a robot take care of your children.
Oh yeah.
But that seems like very affordable and also very terrifying.
May I also recommend, speaking of robots taking care of your children, Ray Bradbury's short stories. My favorite, this is three of them. My favorite one is The Illustrated Man. I love Ray
I
Bradbury.
don't think I know that. I do too. I don't think I know that. I don't know.
The Illustrated Man is my favorite collection of short stories. I can talk about it for like
Oh,
600,000 years.
okay.
Like, I could talk about Ray Bradbury forever. This man literally was writing about like potential alternate, sci-fi universe scenarios considering minorities in the United States in 1950s.
Wow.
Way before civil rights. This man was like ahead of his time. He always has been. And like, not to say that he was perfect, but like, he was definitely ahead of the curve. He was also labeled as a communist during the Red Scare in the US. That man, I think he's really cool. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And his little, his stories always consider, what if we as human, like, how does our humanity get affected in relation to technology?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I brought it up this last time, but there's the fact that there are brothels with sex dolls is just so disturbing to me. Like you just like outsourced the oldest profession. It's like in Texas. There's some in Houston. Is that not insane?
I mean, better than humans, better than humans.
I mean, it's just like so, but that relation, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just, it's interesting. We're in interesting times, folks.
We are fucking in the weirdest of times in my mind. Like, really? I'm out of my mind, dude. Like, Victoria, I don't know the last time when I should have looked up the date when we had your first podcast because it's been a minute and we haven't like
February, I
talked.
think.
Damn,
February
was
or
it that long ago?
March.
I
Yeah.
can't. Damn. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, this whole year has been like insane to me. I expected change. I always try to look on the bright side of things. Oh my God, it's been so much fucking change. Like rolling with it. But this is like the weirdest year. I keep thinking of it like in the sense that like a lot, I feel like I'm having 2020. Like I kind of enjoyed 2020. I had like a ball, but like I feel like I'm having that like
Mhm.
weird like year at a time right now. So much is shifting. It's just there's the uncertainty of like where it goes. I feel like I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
The most trans I don't know why I've been so vibing with Bashar this year. Like I never was into this guy. But what he said was the unknown is simply more versions of you that you haven't met yet.
I
Mm,
love that.
And that kept me sane this year because, I used to really struggle. Like I've struggled with my mental health. I think there was just like a National Suicide Awareness Prevention Day.
Yes.
I used to struggle with my mental health a lot when I was younger. And also like the worst, I had like a really bad mental health episode, I think last year in February. That was like the last time. It's been so long since I've really struggled with my mental health that I'm so grateful for. And one of the things that's kept me sane is understanding that in my existential crises, when my brain is spiraling down into the toilet, that I can actually get out of it when I realize that my thoughts are just thoughts and that it's not necessarily reflective of my reality.
Mm.
When I just literally am like, you know what? I'm having a terrible time, terrible day. Let me just crawl back into bed and just like give up for today. When I surrender to the day, if you have the space to do that, do it. I literally feel amazing like 6 to 12 hours later, every single time.
So many people don't allow themselves to surrender to a day like that. So I think that is, if you have, you can at least take 30 minutes to an hour to take a nap or to like refresh.
Dude,
Mm-hmm.
speak for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I was actually to say, I was about to say,
I am, this is my most sleep, I've never had a more sleep deprived year in my fucking life.
I will concur, my friend. So
Yeah.
take a nap today if you can.
I know. I've got like 2 more things I gotta do, but I'm just still so behind, but I'm gonna have to sleep at some point.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? You'll be a lot more efficient when you just give yourself like even like the littlest bit,
Yeah.
I highly like any place and space you can. I know like rest is such a privilege in this day and age.
Isn't that so crazy? Rest is such a privilege.
Ew, I hate that. Like that is like, but why? Why is rest a privilege? It's like a necessity for human functionality, but we have set up society in a way that, yeah, it's a fucking privilege, isn't it? What
Like
the
hustle,
fuck?
run. I've been sleeping until like 5:30, which is I'm usually a 4 a.m.er, and I've been like, poof, better get going. You better get your day. Like you're behind. You're behind. I'm like, behind for what? Like what metric am I using to measure that I am behind besides the internal haunting of my heart? What is like what? You can sleep in, and then I've been like, oh well, it's the full moon. You need to sleep. And fall and listening to your body but yeah, rest is a privilege. That is the worst but most true statement in today's society.
I kind of hate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I kind of fucking hate that.
Yeah. So, like doom scrolling is not rest. TV, not rest. Reading a book for some reason is rest.
It does put me to sleep. Yeah. Like, which frustrates me because I actually want to be engaged with a book, but
Mm-hmm.
I have not
Because
been
you're not
lately.
draining your dopamine like you are when you doom scroll. I mean, like it's a dopamine seeking activity, which is why there are sometimes I'll be like, I just feel gross. Like social media has like I've been on it so much editing or like responding or trying to book that I'm just like, I'm disgusting. I'm dirty. Like my lens is dirty because of all this because of all this social media engagement. And I'm not even seeing, like, that's why I was so delighted when I came across you today. I was like, oh, I hadn't seen you come across my FYP in a minute. So I was like, okay, good. Like getting back to it. But it was like, ugh,
Yeah.
your Hong Kong ASMR. That's the video that of the rain. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we need it. We need those little moments, those tiny little breaks.
I know we do. We do. And I feel like I do it in like the worst way. This has been like going crazy this year. Like I'm doing it in these like spurts, like going out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to. At a certain point, I'm like, I am so pent up. It's
Yeah,
not
'cause
okay.
You've been in your room for a
For
week.
days.
Yeah, with like with
For
only like
days
taking a
on
stroll to
end.
the coffee shop down the street,
It's like not even a full block away. No, I'm just kidding. I actually literally took my ass outside last night and went on like a couple mile walk. And I mean, I was kind of technically working at the same time, but I had to move.
Yeah. Yeah. Touch grass. Touch grass.
Well, when can Victoria, let's make this a reoccurring thing.
No, I know. Because we said that too, like in the first one, which like
Yeah.
literally we meant, here you are again, thank God. But
Yeah.
it has been too long. We would love to talk. And we obviously, this was such a last minute thing, which I love. And I knew we could just shoot the shit. Like I
Yes.
didn't know it was going to go into politics. I had no idea what kind of crazy stuff you were going to want to talk about. But I love it. But we can be like even more structured, moving forward. Typically we
Yeah.
are.
I love it.
yeah, we'll hit you up and like make sure that this is a continued thing. I would like to do that actually, because
Yeah.
like I threw this at you. I want to definitely get you in for something more like formalized too, so you can really flaunt your shit. Because you got shit to flaunt.
I don't know how to explain this, but you guys just like awaken like just this like side of myself that I'm just like, yes.
Oh.
We're
Yes.
expanding.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of my favorite things about your guys' podcast. Like even just like I've met people through your podcast. You know?
Oh, yay. No,
I
that makes me
love
so
that.
happy.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite intuitives now of the 21st century, Amy Philbin.
Yeah, she's
Isn't she
such
so
a
cool?
sweetie.
She is amazing. And also I'm like obsessed that she has her background in mythology. I'm like, okay,
Isn't that amazing?
I'm tapped in. I'm tapped in.
She's so passionate too. Well, I agree. Maybe one day we should have like, oh my God, you know what we should do one day, Ryan? Is we should have like an in-person like conference or something
Could
where
you
like
imagine?
each bad, yes, I can. And which is why I think that this should absolutely happen. Imagine we go into like a central city, we have all of our, so like boom, you, boom, Amy, like have like they could have like an hour 30, like a TED talk, but better with all of our like our badass guests. How dope would that be? Seriously.
Yeah, I would love it.
That'd
I
be
would
really
love it.
fun. I would love to see more like grounded, intuitive, you know, like people that like blend the real world with the spiritual and all that. Like,
Yes. Yes. No, and like, listen, we love baby intuitives who are on their way, but enough with the white women who are like, yes, here I no, like common sense. Have one foot here on the ground and you can have one foot on the sky, but one foot needs to be here on earth, which is where you are residing, because otherwise you sound insane. And you'll also fall for anything.
yeah.
You'll fall for anything because you're not listening to your intuition. You just think there's so many people who think every thought they have is a divine thought. And I'm like, no. Like there's a garbage can up here. Okay. Like there's a lot of unhealthy things and not every thought is divine.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mhm.
serious. 2025. We should pick a city and I mean it could be something.
I'm there.
Get us a Marriott. Get a Marriott.
I mean, you know I would love it. Hell yeah.
Dude.
I am
Any-
there.
Any reason to get out of my room.
Well, you know what? This is how the Aries full moon served me with this idea. So now
Down.
let us make it happen. I'm serious.
I love it.
I'm so excited. I think this could be brilliant. Look at all of it. A powerhouse of individuals
We are.
going down. You heard it here first on what day is it?
Going
October
down.
17th. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I also think it'd be really fun for us to kind of like talk about how we see things differently and like where we like agree and disagree.
And we can also test you out as the head of the debate team. Not that you would have anyone to debate, but we will get all your jitters out because you'll be in front of people and be like, and then I'll be able to market you. Be like, what's up? This is your captain. You would slay, get you on Jeopardy. I'll be your agent. I know nothing about this, but Ryan's PR, and we're gonna make it.
Hell yeah, dude. Yes. Team.
Yeah.
Take care of the team.
Yeah.
What are you up to? How can people book with you? Like what's going down? What do you
Oh
want
my
people to
goodness.
know?
Okay, so my career has shifted in like so many ways, but it's for the better, right? So my whole intuitive thing, I'm still doing intuitive readings. However, I have been more focused on like other things because I'm also working in like social media strategy, content strategy, helping people bring their
Great.
visions to life. It's been super fun. I've been meeting really cool people.
Cool.
And at the same time, because I'm able to like afford to like, you know, exist now, I can just do like my intuitive stuff because I just like love to do it, right? So I have a lot more like time and space to be able to like hold space for people without having to worry about paying my bills. So my website is graygray.ca. You can go find me there. Intuitive readings. I now take bookings, I think like 2-3 weeks out, just so that, you know what, I don't want anybody to ever book with me from a place of urgency. Please do not do that.
That's a
Like,
great way to put it. I like
Yeah.
that.
You know what's actually so funny? It was a hard lesson that I had to learn, but it was somebody that had like no idea who I was, what my content was. They saw one video, they booked with me, and then they were like, "I didn't know you did cards." I'm like, "You didn't know I did cards? all my intuitive readings on my TikToks are cards. What do you mean I didn't use cards?
Yeah.
And, you know, like, and I was like, she wanted instant gratification. We can't do that anymore.
Ooh.
Can't do that anymore. So, you know, like, and I like, I have clients that I've had for like very long time. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I'm going through something right now. And I'm like, let me know. Like, obviously I hold space for people. Like I can change my schedule around and stuff like that. But also it's like, if you don't know me and you're like booking in a place of urgency, I cannot help you like that. Like, because you need to like hold space for yourself. And I'm an intuitive. I cannot solve all of your problems, you know? And I wish I could. I really do. I really do. But I like how I just like decide to be like, hey, book with me. Like, here's 600 disclaimers.
Hey, book with me, but don't.
But it's like, prepare yourself. You're gonna like let it be an occasion.
You better be in a decent spot, and that's how I'll be able to help you. Because otherwise, but it's true, you gotta sit through the muck. You know, so if something has just happened, you know, sit with yourself. You know, it's okay to be emotional, but I think that's a great disclaimer, and also defers responsibility to the parties that need to have it, which is yourself.
Yeah. And also, I'm not a mental health professional. So, like, as much as, like, I want to be able to help you, I'm not the best resource for that, right? Like, I can definitely be like, hey, you know, like, here, like, take a few breaths and stuff like that, but that's not going to fix your problems. But I will be able to help you out when you're able to, like, you know, kind of like when you're able to be in, like, a little bit of a space where, like, you're kind of like, hey, like, I don't really know. I'm kind of lost. I don't know where to go. But, you know, we're living in difficult times, and I understand how complicated that is. And at the same time, also, please, like, do not come to me for twin flames. I cannot do that, please.
Oh my God.
Don't do that.
I haven't had to deal with that in so long.
If I get one more, oh, you know, like, I know you don't believe. I had people literally sometimes they're like, yeah, I know you don't believe in twin flames, but like, I think this person is like that. Listen, you believe that, and I will hold space for that belief. I will, 100%. But listen, like,
That's called a trauma bond, and you need to seek therapy, and then you can come see me.
Basically.
Let's make it all happen. And I mean, this has been what a nice surprise. Thank you both.
No, I'm so glad. You guys are so cool. Like, anytime I see your guys' Instagram pop up, I get so excited. I'm just like, oh my God. Yes.
I gotta like keep going on that too. There's so much to do. It's just hard. I gotta like streamline this year in 2025. I don't know. Today.
It'll be amazing. It'll be so amazing.
Yeah, no, things are going well. And I'm just like so blessed you're here. Thank you so much. Come back. We will have you back.
You're a gift.
You.
We love you. Follow her on all social medias. Book with her, even though she said not to.
Or if you need some like branding or social media help, it sounds like, reach out. I'm gonna guarantee she's gonna tap you into your authenticity and
Shazam.
Yeah, I would trust you with that for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Good luck out there.
Good luck, everybody.